Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Today, I want to talk about Jehovah's Witnesses and the convention. Now, I was inspired to make this video by JT and Lady C over at XJW Critical Thinker. They made a really good video about the convention and they gave some really good insight onto what goes on behind the scenes. It's very interesting. I will actually have the video linked below. Even though if you're watching my video, I'm sure you know about their channel, but I do just want to give credit where credit is due. Now, as you all know, because of COVID-19, Jehovah's Witnesses did not attend the convention this year in person. They watched it online. So I was sitting thinking about it and I was wondering how I would feel about this if I was still a Jehovah's Witness. Would I have been relieved or would I have been disappointed? And I actually think I would have been disappointed because for a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, the convention is like the BET Awards or like Met Gala or something like that. This is the biggest event of the summer for a lot of them. You know, it's a time to be around thousands of other witnesses, to see and be seen. You know, people show up dressed, okay, sharp. You can't wear that same suit or that same dress that you wear every other week to the midweek meeting. No, hell no. You got to go to JCPenney or Dress Barn, get you some new fits because you got to show up and show out, okay? I used to be so excited to get 3 new outfits for the 3 days of the convention. I would rank my outfits in order of least favorite to most favorite. And the least favorite you wear on Friday and the most favorite you have to wear on Sunday because that's when the attendance is the highest. So the buzz for the convention or the excitement around the convention usually would start a few months prior. So there would always be a Kingdom Ministry article that would come out a few months before the convention. Just telling everybody to get excited, to look forward to it, to make arrangements, to make sure you take off work. And there would always be a section about convention reminders. Now, these reminders were basically telling witnesses to remember not to act like animals and not to trample each other because, in case you don't know, the conventions were typically held in sports stadiums or concert venues, places that have floor seats, a 100 level, a 200 level, and then the nosebleeds. So when the doors would open in the morning for the convention, a lot of witnesses would go crazy because they were really excited to get good seats. And they would have to set reminders, basically saying, don't trample the elderly and the infirm, be courteous. Now, I've never seen anyone running when the doors would open for the convention, but I did see some aggressive power walking, if you will. And I mean, if you have 100 people aggressively power walking, that could easily get out of hand. Another reminder they would have to make is to not save seats. So I believe, I can't remember, it was either you could only save seats for those in your car group or those in your household. But you weren't supposed to be saving seats for your best friend or random people. Witnesses didn't follow that rule either. I'll just tell you that now. I remember seeing people with sheets. I won't say they were bed sheets. They were probably blankets, but they were blankets that were large enough to double as a bed sheet. And they would just throw them over a big section of chairs. Sis, I know all these people you saving seats for are not in your household. They never followed that rule. And then I think the attendants were able to get in the convention earlier before the doors were open to everybody. And they were saving seats too, because you would see literature and stuff all over the chairs. So they were definitely still doing that. So what I used to do when I would get to the convention, the first thing I would do when I would sit down, I would look at the program, which the program tells you each talk that's going to be given for the 3 days, for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it would tell you what time the talks would be. So what I would do, I would map out my bathroom breaks. I couldn't go to the bathroom too many times because my mother would realize I don't really have to use the bathroom. I'm just looking for an excuse to get up and walk around. So I had to be strategic about where I scheduled my bathroom breaks. Okay, so for the symposiums, I really didn't try to get up during that time because those were pretty bearable. The symposiums would be a series of 10-minute talks. So the entire symposium would be about one specific topic, and each talk would address that topic from different angles. So the symposium title would be something like Beware of Satan's Snares, and each talk would talk about a different snare of the devil. Those were pretty bearable because they were only 10 minutes, and usually within that 10 minutes, they would give an experience or they would have a reenactment. So I could sit through those. Those weren't too bad. But the ones that used to kill me, the talks that I had to get up for was what did they call it? The keynote address. That thing was like 45 minutes. So I always made sure I scheduled a bathroom break during that, because that thing, I swear, it used to go on forever. So when the program would start on Friday, they would kind of get you all hyped up as if you were going to hear some new information that you've never heard before, and how this is going to be so refreshing and spiritually upbuilding. But really, the entire program was just a guilt tripping festival. Okay. It's like when Oprah was giving out the cars, it's just like, you get a car, you get a car. It's like, you get some guilt, you get some guilt. Everybody gets guilt. There was always a topic. Like, everybody was going to leave feeling inadequate in some form or fashion. There was always going to be a part about expanding your ministry. They were going to tell you, you're not going on field service enough. You're not preaching enough. You're not getting enough hours. You probably have the circumstances to pioneer. Why haven't you done that? I mean, seriously, the program was pretty much just, here's all the ways you've screwed up. Here's all the ways you are inadequate. And this is what you need to improve on so that you don't get destroyed in Armageddon. So like I said, there was always a part about field service and doing more. There would always be a part about association. So if you had friends or family who you were close to who were not Jehovah's Witnesses, they were going to make sure to make you feel guilty about that. There was always a part about entertainment. What kind of movies are you watching? If you watched a rated R movie recently, you're going to feel guilty for that. If you watched a movie with violence or a sex scene, you were going to feel guilty for that. There was always the part about pornography. Like, never mind the fact that there are a bunch of children here. They always had to bring that up. And it was always so uncomfortable because you could always see people like fidgeting in their seat. It's like, nobody wants to talk about this. But they always had to make sure to bring that up, usually several times over the course of the convention. So yeah, there was plenty. There would usually be a part about not studying enough, not reading your Bible enough. Like, again, it's just talk after talk of here's what you're not doing well enough. So let's get to the intermission. Now, the intermission for single witnesses was like speed dating, okay? Because you had to get in there and find you a partner. You had to see who was single, who's available. And it was actually, now that I'm thinking back on it, it was pretty pathetic. But I genuinely felt that I had to put myself out there because a lot of witnesses get married very young. I got married at 21, and most of the people I saw getting married were between the ages of like 20 and 25. So I was actually afraid, like as a teenager, that, you know, if I didn't get in there and get a husband, by the time I hit, 25, they would all be gone. There would be no single brothers left. So you would see a lot of young people just standing around, kind of eyeing each other, maybe walking around, saying hello, how are you, introducing themselves. And it really was sad that we felt we had to do that. But the timeline of witnesses meeting each other and getting married is a pretty brief timeline. It's usually about a year. So you would see people at these conventions. You would see two people meet each other and talking during the intermission. And like the next convention, they would be married. That's how quick it was. So you had to go out. You had to bring your A game. That's why I said we had new outfits, make sure our hair was done, because you were trying to find a spouse. So I would scarf down my lunch during the intermission, and I would go walk around. And I really did want to widen out. I liked the idea of making more friends, and I was really social back then. So I'll walk around, just try to meet new people, exchange numbers, see people I haven't seen in a few years, things like that. So the afternoon session was always such a drag because, mind you, most people have gotten up so early to get here. Their days probably started at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning because most people didn't live nearby where the convention took place. So either they drove an hour or more, or they got a hotel nearby, or they used to get buses, and we would take the bus to the convention. But either way, regardless of how you got there, usually by the afternoon and you've eaten and you've had a long day, this is where people just start passing out, okay? You just see the heads nodding, people are asleep. So, or you will see people walking around a lot because they're just trying to stay awake. They're trying to get that second wind. So what I would do during that time, I would go volunteer to clean. And, you could go volunteer, and usually you will be in the bathroom because, people are in and out of the bathroom the entire day. So you have to have somebody in there, wiping down the sinks, cleaning the toilet as people are using it. That's how bad, that's how boring these talks were, that I would rather be in a public bathroom scrubbing the toilets rather than sitting in my seat trying to pay attention. That's just how bad it was, okay? Like it was terrible. But like I said, I needed a reason to just move around, cuz at that point you've been sitting for hours. And I think the intermission, I don't even know, was the intermission an hour or like 50 minutes or something like that? So, I mean, it was a nice break, but at that point you're just kind of tired of sitting. And then at the end of the first day, I think every day back then they would have a new release. So there would be like a new publication, a new booklet that they would release at the end of each day of the convention, and that was always a big thing. And people would be in line after the convention ended to go get the new release. And I would be really excited about the new releases, but I would never read them. Like, I would flip through it on the way home, but then after that, I pretty much forgot about it. The one time I actually did pay attention to the new release and I actually took the time to read it was, what was it called? God's Kingdom Rules. And that's actually the book that helped me start waking up. So, shout out to that book, because that's the book that had the teaching about the overlapping generations. And that's where I'm like, that's where stuff just stopped adding up for me. Now let's get into Sunday, because Sunday was the day that most people looked forward to, were the most excited about, and that was for a few reasons. So attendance was usually the highest on Sunday, like I said, and that was because people who maybe couldn't get off work Friday and Saturday, they would come Sunday. You would have a lot of visitors Sunday. You would have like those inactive people who really didn't come around much. They would usually make Sunday. You would have people visiting that weren't even assigned to go to the convention that weekend. I never understood why people would attend more than one convention in a summer. Like, one was boring enough to sit through, but I think that goes more into people wanting to widen out, wanting to meet new people, especially, like I said, those who were looking for marriage mates. You could go to another convention and, you would meet more people. Another reason Sunday was always highly anticipated was because of the drama. Now, I know now at the conventions, there are videos spread throughout all 3 days. Now, back then, we didn't have all those videos. It was just talk after talk after talk. You may get like an experience or maybe a brief, few minute reenactment. But other than that, it was just talks, okay? And it was boring. So the drama was finally a break from the monotony of all the talks. And that was before they started doing everything in like a motion picture type of setup. Back then it was actually live dramas where they had costumes, they had props. And I mean, it was interesting to watch. The main reason why I was so excited for Sunday was because we were going to go out to eat afterwards. You always go out to eat after the convention. So usually I'd be walking around talking to my friends, finding out who's going where, trying to make arrangements. If my mom didn't want to go out to eat, I was trying to figure out whose car I was jumping in, because that was what I was most excited about. So let's talk about the dramas for a second. So the dramas were always, like I said, highly anticipated. You would have like nobody in the bathrooms during those times. Everybody would be in their seat, ready to see the dramas. And how could you forget those props and those costumes and those over exaggerated gestures? I mean, it was a sight to see. Now, one drama that sticks out clearly in my mind, I had to do some digging because I could remember this one scene, but I couldn't remember what year. And it turns out it was from the 2004 convention. So I was 10 years old at the time, and I still remember this because it scared me. It was terrifying. I actually was able to find the audio. I'll have it linked below. The title of it was "They Bore Thorough Witness to the Good News." And now I don't feel like going back to figure out if it was Peter or Paul, but I want to say it was Paul. There's a scene in there where Paul and Barnabas, I think, were walking, and a girl is following them. And the girl that's following them, they said, was under the possession of a demon. And I remember this. I remember watching this drama at the convention. I could remember where I was sitting. That's how badly this terrified me. And the girl that was walking in the actual drama, she had all of her hair covering her face. I think The Grudge, the movie The Grudge, like she had all her hair over her face, and she was walking kind of like zombie-like. And the audio was like this layered voice to make her sound like she was under the possession of a demon. Now, as a child, that was A, frightening, and B, it was very confusing, because I knew that if this type of scene was in a movie, just a regular movie, that's something that we would be told we could not watch. So I could not understand why they would put a scene in the drama that would depict demon possession when we're always told we can't watch movies like that. So that was just a really disturbing moment for me. And, I just thought to myself, like, why would they do that? Why would they want to scare us like that? And I think they did something similar in 2017 with the Remember the Wife of Lot movie, where at the end there's kind of this graphic imagery where the mother is, it's depicting the mother being turned into a pillar of salt, like Lot's wife. But yeah, that was like slightly traumatizing because when I would see scary previews on TV, I would always cover my eyes, ask my mom to change the channel. So the fact that we were just sitting there watching it live and I couldn't turn away or like change the channel or walk out, it was really frightening. Like I said, I'll have it linked below so you can listen to the audio. Maybe I was just a scary child. Maybe it wasn't even that scary, but it scared me at the time. Now, after the drama, I think they actually switched this because back then they would do the Watchtower summary after the drama. I think now they do the Watchtower summary Sunday morning because after the drama, people pretty much checked out. Like, we're done here. I've seen all I needed to see. I talked to everybody I needed to talk to. I've gotten beat down the last few days, told what I wasn't doing enough of. I'm done here. And during the Watchtower summary, basically, if you don't know what that is, it's basically going over the Watchtower article that they would have gone over during a regular Sunday meeting. So they don't have the typical question and answer because obviously they can't pick out people to answer, to give comments in a crowd of thousands. But I love the Watchtower summary because I could just look down or I could pretend to be looking down in my Watchtower and I would just take a nap. So that was always kind of a benefit to that. And then the last final talks on Sunday were always like to try to get everybody all ramped up again, get everybody all excited, build all this anticipation that the end is just so close. Because you got to remember, the last few days, you've been guilt tripping people. You've been making people feel inadequate. You've been pointing out their flaws. You've been reminding them where they're falling short. So before they leave, you got to leave them off on a high note, right? You got to, what's a cult without a little emotional highs and lows, okay? So the last few talks, it's like, just work on the things we've talked about. And if you could just hold on a little bit longer, it'll all pay off and we'll all be in paradise together. And it's just very high emotion, a lot of clapping. Oh my God. Like those ending talks where they're like clapping after every few sentences. It's like, bro, can we just save our applause to the end? Like I've had enough. And then there's always those awkward moments where the speaker kind of pauses and you're not sure, like, are we supposed to clap? Are we not supposed to clap? And then you have like a few people clap and then it's just like awkward. But yeah, it's all this high energy. We're so close to the end type of thing. So then everybody leaves like on this high feeling like, oh, this was the best convention ever. We're so close to the end. And it's like, we're going to do it all again next year, guys. Like nothing special occurred. Nothing special occurred here. And you can't talk about the convention without talking about that closing prayer. Dear Lord, the final prayer of the convention was a talk in its own, really. Usually it was a recap of the last 3 days. And it would just be minutes of thanking Jehovah for every little thing. I mean, it's like, thank you, Jehovah, for the Friday talk where this was discussed. Thank you, Jehovah, for the Saturday talk where this, like, we don't need a recap. Most of us took notes, okay? We don't need you to recap the talks in the prayer. It's unnecessary. At that point, I was mentally checked out. I'm hungry. I'm ready to go out to eat. At that point, I usually have a restaurant secured. I know where I'm going. I'm already going through the menu in my head, thinking about what I want. I'm already, in my mind, I'm already ordering my appetizer. And you sitting here giving a 20-minute prayer. Expedite what you need to say so we can go on with our lives. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole convention. That was my experience attending the convention. Like I said, I do think a lot of witnesses probably felt relief this year that they didn't have to do all that packing and planning and taking off work and getting kids together and planning transportation or booking hotels. I mean, it's really a lot. And like I said, I'm a single person, so I never experienced having to go to a convention with a family and get kids together. It sounds like a lot. So I'm sure a lot of witnesses are relieved. You may have a few that are disappointed. I would have missed the social aspect of it, because that was the part I was always excited for. But yeah, I really didn't watch the videos that they played this year at the convention, like the videos online. If you guys want me to watch those and give some commentary, I'll be happy to do so. I just don't know who will be interested, but if you guys want to see that, I have no problem covering it. I'll probably do a little browsing through and just see what topics they covered this year. But that's all I have for you all today. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.